because now we have something to talk about.
And I think a lot of it, too, you have to have an open mind. And along with that, don't be afraid of the experience. Embrace it. Love it. Hopefully it's a good one.
Sometimes people can't do that right away. There's one investigator who had a great line. He said, if you talk to somebody right after their experience, their hair's mussed up, they're babbling, they're not coherent. But if you come back in a couple of years, they've typed their story, they are talking about it in a way that makes sense. And that's why it's useful to have a group. I remember Jerry Clark, who came to our UFO conference at the University of Wyoming. He said, this is like a finishing school for UFO experiencers. It helps them to talk in ways that scientists and governmental people will listen, rather than the talk right after the experience. And so it does help to have a little bit of time to analyze the experience, to talk about it, and to grow up as a result of the experience.
Okay, listeners, if you have a question for Dr. Leo Sprinkle, again, our number is 1-888-919-2355. Or join us on the Inception Radio Network live chat. Just click on live chat and type in your question. And we'll be glad to hear from you. Leo, is there anything else that comes to mind that you'd like to tell the listeners?
Oh, I was just thinking of some guy that I worked with recently. His name is Terry Bourbon from Texas, and he's a cowboy. He's got horses. He's been a horse bucking guy and roping guy for many years. He says he's getting old now, and so he can't do all of the things that he used to. That's pretty rough business. It's like any professional athletic is potential for injury. But what's interesting about Terry is that not only is he down-to-earth guy, but also he has a camera, and he seems to have what he calls a portal in his ranch. And so he might be photographing orbs, he might be photographing a ghost, he might be photographing a flying saucer. It's as if a lot of information in the way of images or phenomena are coming and going through this portal. And I mention that because some people who feel that they are experiencing things they may not want to combine, Bigfoot and flying saucers. I remember one couple from Utah. They said, "Well, we were willing to talk to you about flying saucers, but we didn't want to talk about Bigfoot. You'd think we were crazy." I said, "No, the Bigfoot phenomenon is part of it. That a guy whose name used to be Jack Lapsaritis, now he's Kiwoni Lapsaritis. He's written a couple of books about the psychic Sasquatch." And the feeling that he has is that they are here to protect Earth, but also to work with the sky people, so that whether people are looking at orbs or whether they're looking at dreams, whether they're looking at animals and plants, things that represent what's important to them, or Native American legends or ancient legends. So many people come into this from different views. Some come from biblical, some come from scientific, some come from technical, some come from just curiosity. And to me, it's part of the whole phenomenon that we learn more about ourselves and our role in earthly matters. Because when disclosure happens, as Dolan and Zabel have pointed out in their book AD, After Disclosure, right after disclosure, we change. We move from planetary persons to extraplanetary, what I think of as cosmic citizens. We no longer are what we used to be. Just like a high school graduate, when she turns her tassel over the other side, she moves from being a high school student to being a graduate. She may not be ready for college or military or marriage or family or job, but she's now potentially able to see herself as beyond the high school experience. And so the same way, once we disclose to ourselves that the star people are here, then we not only are planetary, everybody on the planet, good, bad, and ugly, but also we are extraplanetary, we are cosmic, we are the
Right.
Federation. So to me, that's why it's an exciting moment in human history.
Leo, there's a question here from one of our listeners. It said, what methodology in the regression technique does Dr. Leo believe solicits the best response from abductees, and do all these patients seem to respond to it equally?
Good question. It's difficult to describe all the different kinds of techniques. Most people who have been through professional training in hypnosis are aware that there are certain things at the physical level. You want the person to be in a comfortable environment. At the biological level, most people want to relax the body. And then at the psychological level, to be focused in on the memory. At the spiritual level, to recognize that they're part of an ongoing task. But that may not be apparent to people who come in frightened or puzzled. So basically, the task is to arrange a time and a place where a person feels comfortable, and they may or may not be able to work on the task right away. I've worked with some people who took several sessions before they started remembering what had happened in childhood or what had happened in past life or whatever. But generally speaking, if people are intelligent, educated, within 1 hour they can learn how to relax the body. And then another hour they can go back over their memory of the flying saucer sighting or the ET encounter. And so they can get the basic memory in their conscious mind. From then on, it depends on how much information they have, how many experiences they've had, how many years or lifetimes it's been. And that can go from just a few sessions to several sessions with some people. But the basic view is to have trust in the person and let the person decide. I've worked with hundreds of people, and most of them feel that they not only have a memory that's meaningful to them, but they feel as if it's okay to accept that information. And then psychic phenomena seem to be part of it for many people, whether that's a sense of telepathic communication or whether it's precognitive views. That can be very complex, but also very interesting from an intellectual standpoint. But the basic notion is to assist a person to trust the situation and trust themselves. And then after that, they have to decide whether they want to talk about it or whether they don't want to talk about it to other people.
You know, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about in my own experience, you know, I always thought that a person had to be perfect or had to be godlike or something really special to elicit a experience of the sort that we're talking about. And it took me years of maturity to realize that if we were all perfect to start with, how would we know? I mean, because you learn from your mistakes, right? I mean,
yeah, we wouldn't need the human experience. Right, the human experience seems to help us learn, help us to grow.
Right. A lot of people say, well, you've done this and you've done that. Yes, I've done a lot of bad things in my life, but I've always learned from it and resolved to never do it again. I mean, okay, here's a question from one of our listeners. Did you ever receive any unofficial feedback from the police force with regards to Herbert Schirmer's case after the paperwork was finalized?
Good question. His supervisor was there at the session that we had, and I don't remember now his view of what was going on. My own memory is that when Herb and I talked, we enjoyed one another. We had a sense of trust. And then in the afternoon we got together again. Well, then the University of Colorado Condon Group officials put a paper in front of him saying that the University of Colorado would not take responsibility for any psychological damage or harm caused by hypnosis. And he became uncertain. He wasn't sure he wanted to use hypnosis techniques. So I tried to suggest that we could use the pendulum technique. It's a technique that a person can hold an object with a string and getting signals, yes, no, I don't know, I don't want to say, and focus on the pendulum and let the body talk through the pendulum.
Right.
So we used the pendulum technique to get at some of the information that came out. Then later he met with another hypnotist and found that his memory was that he was on board the craft and the ET, the extraterrestrial entity who called himself, he talked to Herb and he said, Watchman, watch this. And they did a demonstration with electricity, so that he felt like it was an important experience that he had. And even though he and I weren't very successful that first time, I was glad that he continued to experience more. So unofficially, at the time, he felt like his supervisor was helping him come to the Condon Committee meeting to deal with it, because in his view, it was a true experience.
I never felt very sure about the Condon Committee findings.
When I met Dr. Condon, I was interested because sometimes I talk with people, and as a psychologist and as an investigator, I feel like I get an idea of how much fear or doubt or anger or pride or joy or love that the person is experiencing. I had the difficulty in reading Dr. Condon, and I saw him later on a plane flight too, and talked with him. And there again, I still had trouble. And I remember getting a letter saying that I should be careful about giving information, blah blah blah. And I didn't understand that, because Dr. Condon is a very bright man, a physicist, professor who's renowned. And so this may not be true, but my feeling was that he knew more than he was talking about.
Leo, here's another question from one of our listeners. Has the field of psychology made any attempts, and I just lost it, hold on. Go back up there. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me find, I'm not computer savvy here. I lost it. Oh, has the field of psychology made any attempts to integrate abduction cases into case studies for graduate level programs?
Good question. I don't know the answer. There are some professors who have done studies, some psychologists, but I would say, as far as I know, there's no concerted effort or no united effort to bring UFO experiences, ET encounters into graduate study. But there may be individuals who are doing that. There's a journal called SSE, the Society for Scientific Exploration, puts out a journal, and these are MD, PhD type scholars who write about anomalies. They may be chemical or mathematical anomalies, or they may be biological, psychological anomalies, including reincarnation, UFO research. So there are articles that some professors may be using in their studies, but I'm not familiar with any overall effort.
Okay, here's another question.
that'll change just as soon as disclosure happens, and as soon as grants are available, then there'll be a lot of professors who will be wanting to study.
No, Leo, I told you you're going to land first. No, I could only hope. Here's another question.
Okay.
It disappeared on me again. Oh, it says, I have never seen... Well, let me go back. I've always called our visitors our forefathers and have never seen a UFO. Do you think it is because I believe and they feel they don't need to show themselves to me or people like me?
I think that's a good possibility.
I've also been told I'm an old soul. What does that mean?
Yeah.
It means you're not young.
Most people use old soul to mean that I've had many lifetimes and that I go back to the source of souls. Of course, in my opinion, many people may be old souls in the sense of other planets, but may be new to the planet Earth. But yes, I think that it's possible that a person doesn't need the, it's like a transfer student coming over from another school, don't need to go through the basics again. So having a flying saucer sighting is exciting to many people, but to other people who've had a lot of sightings, it's not so as important as the lesson. Being on board is exciting to a lot of people, but to other people, that's like being in class, and when they graduate, then they go out. Just like our UFO conference, we had 150, 200 people every year for 20 years, and yet after a while, it was important for them not just to learn among themselves, but to go out and help other people. So it seems like it's an ongoing educational program.
Here's another question from a listener. It says, good question. Has regression sessions increased or decreased in the last 25 years?
Oh, good question. I think it's increased, but that's that I don't know whether the sessions have actually increased or the therapists willing to write about them has increased. There are more books by experiencers as well as more books by investigators. And so whether that means the sessions have increased or whether it's just the reporting of the sessions has increased, I don't really know. But it is true that more and more people are talking with hypnotherapists and more people are talking about their experiences.
That's great. That's great. Listeners, if you'd like to call in and talk to Dr. Leo Sprinkle, our number again is 1-888-919-2355. We got about 10 minutes, so you need to get those questions in there. Here's another question for you, Leo. It says, we seem to concentrate so much effort into asking the U.S. government to disclose their knowledge of the UFO phenomenon. Could Americans have an easier time if they took the effort overseas?
That's a good question. Yeah. Stephen Bassett is a representative of a group of online people who have requested information from the White House. Dr. Stephen Greer is an MD who is head of the Disclosure Project. Dr. Scott Jones has a Peace Room site. He's in Texas. There are several organizations who are working to disclose the ET presence information. There are books recently. Annie Jacobson has written a book about Area 51. A woman named Leslie Kean, K-E-A-N, has written a book about UFOs, and she's described what military people and governmental people and pilots have said in other countries. And her view is that the U.S. is the holdout, that for whatever reason, we're the ones who are not coming forth as quickly as other nations. Whether that's because we have more information or whether that's because we're scaredy cats or whether we're in control by greed and
I think that's it.
All of that may be true, but to me, the issue, like my wife, she's so smart. She's smarter than I am, and she knew years ago about reincarnation, ESP, UFOs. She says the ETs are in charge. I said, yes, but they need our help. And so Dr. Evelyn Fuqua and Cook, in her book, Cosmic Relationship, she has a nice little exercise that'll be coming out this year, and she says, visualize the planet with the light around it, and then send up a message, come on down, ETs, we need your help. So that if they're asking us for help and we're asking them for help, maybe we can cooperate and help each other. So maybe that'll hasten the day when disclosure occurs, because eventually, as Dolan and Zabel say, if it's not photograph evidence, if it's not deathbed confessions, if it's not disclosure from this country or that country, if it's not political stability, sooner or later there'll be huge craft over the planet quietly moving along, and people with their cameras, ABC, NBC, CBS, all of the cameras will be on the objects, and then the disclosure will have occurred, whether governments are ready for it or not.
It's like a big oops.
So that way, to me, if a person daily sends energy into the planet and
yes.
up to the ETs, that helps the process.
I agree. Here's another question from one of our listeners. What is your viewpoint on Alan Hynek's theory of high strangeness? Have your patients ever tried to connect various anomalous events in their lives to a single purpose?
Two kinds of responses to that, if I understand the question. Hynek and Vallée commented not only on the flying saucer as a physical phenomenon, but also as a psychic phenomenon and as a cultural or historical phenomenon. So Vallée argues that these phenomena have been around for thousands of years, and maybe that's part of a spirit world. So if we look at it from a historical, scientific, technical standpoint, we see ongoing strangeness. If we look at it from a cultural, historical standpoint, high strangeness. Either way, I would say yes. Most of the people I work with, I don't call them patients, but I call them clients. They are persons who not only perceive their own experiences as unusual, but they perceive it as part of an evolution or part of an ongoing cultural experience. So they may not feel that way right at first, but as they start talking to other people, just give you one example. A woman called me years ago, late at night from Florida. She said she was getting a message telepathically from ETs down in the ocean off of Florida. They wanted help. Well, we talked about it, and then I said, do you suppose this is a test? She said, what do you mean? I said, well, if you can get a telepathic message from the ETs and their ship is down in the bottom of the ocean, then they can probably get a telepathic message to their brothers and sisters in space. Oh, she said, yeah. So she said, well, what kind of a test do you suppose it is? Well, just to see if you're compassionate and you're persistent. So keep on asking if there's something you can do that would help for them. And so then she sent out a letter called 1111 about the wake-up call. And I asked her if I could send copies. It was a nice little letter, and she said yes. So I sent copies to people I knew. And this one couple, a mother and a daughter, and the mother was a 50, 60-year-old teacher, and the daughter was a psychiatric caseworker in California. They wrote a book called Healing Shattered Reality after they came to our conference, because they realized that their experience, hybrid children, ESP, blah, 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 all these things were part of the whole message. And so this one, the daughter, the psychiatric caseworker, had a cute story. She said, just as I sent her in the mail a copy of this letter on 1111, she said she was standing in the kitchen and talking with her friend. They were going to go shopping, And her friend looked over at a digital clock and said, "It's 11:11. We got to get going." And she said, "How does that happen? All of these coincidences?" And I said, "That's part of the message. That's part of the signs. Part of the ongoing path is just follow the coincidences, follow the guides, and enjoy the journey."
Leo, I have one more question. We're at the bottom of the hour, so I hope we can get this in.
Okay.
What is the legacy that Dr. Leo is hoping to leave behind to the UFO community, and what mistakes, if any, has he made that we should learn from?
If I've made any mistakes, I don't know what they are, except I wasn't able to convince my colleagues at the University of Wyoming that what I was doing was meaningful and significant. So I don't know if that'll be perceived as a sign of courage that I was continuing, or whether it was perceived as it was okay to step down away from the university rather than cause more trouble. I didn't want to cause trouble at the university, so I love the university and I love the people. My own sense of legacy is to pass it forward. If I can do anything that is helpful to people, is to, in the sense of any legacy, is to have them continue on their journey and help other people continue on their journey.
Well, Leo, I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us today.
Thank you, Chris.
You're a good friend. I hope to see you soon one of these days if I can get up that way.
Sounds good.
We'll definitely keep in touch.
Thank you so much.
Hang on a minute. For those listeners that are still on the line here, check out Epic Voyagers on your search media. If you have any sightings or reports you'd like to report to us, please do so. We will get to you usually within 24 to 48 hours, and at least investigate it from the telephone. If we can't get out to you, but we'll make every effort to do so. So I want to thank you all for joining us. Again, my name is Christine Dickey, State Director for Epic Voyagers, Arizona. God bless and take care.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Please join us again next Monday evening for Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council's Epic Voyagers. I'm Roger Peacock for Epic. Until next time.